Shalom. I'd like to begin first and foremost by saying Barakatah, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rakah, Kadash, double honors to the apostles and elders of great millstone, salutations to the sincere Aki. I'm going to push this truth with no due diligence and sincerity. For this particular video, I'm going to go into high level the financial situation here in the UK, starting off with first and foremost Haggai, the first chapter, verse 6. Ye have sown much and bring in little. Ye eat, but ye have not enough. Ye drink, but ye are not filled with drink. Ye clothe you, but there is none warm. And he that earneth wages to put it into a bag with holes. In this kingdom, we are not financially set up to win. This place is Esau's kingdom, and even still, the average Edomite is struggling for survival. In the UK, the average salary, when you essentially work out the average that the typical person is making, considering not just London, everything from the four nations, England, Wales, Northern Ireland, and Scotland, the average is £35,000. Over 50% of people are earning £35,000 and under. Yeah, you do have a high concentration of people earning like 40s and above in London, of course. But like when you get to like 50%, 50,000 and upwards, the numbers start to dwindle up. And to be in the top 1% of earners, you need to be earning just over 100,000 and some change. Yeah, which in all honesty, if you're a smart Jake that can hustle and apply yourself, it's not the most difficult thing to do. You know, of course, our vocation, our priority is this truth. But you know, brothers of the elect, man. You know, we are Yahweh, Yahushai, are the first fruits. If you wanted to really make money, £100,000 is not hard to do if you applied yourself. However, guess what? At the end of the day, you will then get taxed 45% here in the UK on your job. Whereas in the US, you can earn up to 700,000 before you start to get taxed. And it's just because ultimately the tax systems here in the UK, I mean, really all over the world, America as well, because America don't have free healthcare. They don't have all of the additional benefits of living in the UK, even though it's hell here and the NHS is National Health Service is shit. But here in the UK in particular, yeah, you will get taxed to oblivion, even if you're just a normal average citizen. Hence why the elites and the lesser luminaries, the rich, and when I say rich, I mean people that are multi-millionaires, find different ways to hide and shield their wealth, man, and have offshore tax havens and all the rest of it because they trust in the earth's riches. They trusted in certain riches. However, for us, the average and our people, the average so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American, man, you could literally even be earning 100K and you still wouldn't be able to buy a house in London. You know, which shows you that the system is broken. House prices are over 8-9 times, sometimes 11, 12 times the average annual salary. It's fucked out here, man. And the average Jake, just to keep above the ground and pay rent and be able to live life a little bit, is working 2 jobs. You have sown much but bring in little. Haggai 1 and 6. You eat, but you have not enough. You drink, but you are not filled with drink. You clothe you, but there is none warm. And he that earneth wages to put it into a bag with holes. Because here in the UK, we have 20% national insurance off the bat. You have 9% national insurance, which is basically the same tax, round it up to 30%. You then have employers' national insurance, which even though you don't see your salary until that gets paid, your boss or your company has to account for this tax before they even consider paying you. So because they got tax to the government for employing you, and then you got to pay tax for earning your wages. You get charged on the flow of income. And still, the tax income goes right up to the elites, and they squander it on all sorts of fuckery through the lesser luminaries, the politicians, and that money laundering. Let's just say it's strong, man. Now, in this particular video here from this economist by the name of Sasha Yanchin, he goes into the fact that in the year 2023 into 2024 into 2025, in that particular tax year, the UK government reported spending 15 billion more than what they forecasted by the Office of Budget Responsibility. So here in the UK, there's a government, an independent body known as the OBR, the Office of Budget Responsibility, and they're supposed to be a transparent, independent organization that put out accurate forecasts based on what they've been told the government are going to spend. And the figures that they put out are supposed to be basically pretty much foolproof, but they were off by 15 billion pounds, 11%, an 11% increment in national spending, with 5 days of the tax year between end of March and the beginning of April to go. And that ultimately just goes to show you that these devils, man, have an agenda. They have an agenda which is ultimately to crash this economy and to bring in the chip, man. It is a matter of fact. You see, you could be one of those Jakes that trusts in this place and believes that it's going to bounce back and rebound and try and diversify your stocks and and work the two jobs for eternity and think that you're going to be able to save yourself out of this situation. Of course, money is a defense. So if you have the means to get some change, of course, buffer yourself a little bit. But ultimately, we have the knowledge that the rest of the world don't. That this is not by accident. This is not a coincidence or being done by a mistake. That they're not just blundering idiots, just making mistakes and trying to save the economy while failing. They're purposefully destroying the economy and just making it seem like they are trying, man. This is being done on purpose. This is malicious intent, and the majority of Jake are falling for it, man. Still trusting in Esau's system, believing that he's gonna save the day for them. Isaiah 31 verse 1. Woe to them that go down to Egypt for help, and stay on horses and trust in chariots because they are many, and in horsemen because they are very strong, but they look not unto the Holy One of Israel, neither seek they the Lord Jehovah. You see, because that definitely happens in America, but also here, because people look at the United Kingdom like it's a safe haven. The British pound before the dollar was the world reserve currency, and the majority of our people, even those on the west coast of Africa where I'm from, or the West Indies, look at this place like it's still better than being home. You got a situation whereby a lot of so-called Africans and a lot of so-called West Indians, basically Judah Benjamin and obviously sprinklings of Levi, predominantly are over here. You got some of the Northern Kingdom also, but it's predominantly Southern Kingdom, man. The Kingdom of Judah Benjamin and Levi that are down here, and a lot of our families move over here and trust in this place because they believe because they can earn, let's say, 2k a month, £2,000, and go back to Africa, and the average monthly salary there is like equivalent of like £400-500, and they can take 1 month's salary and live 3 months comfortable, etc. That this place is going to continue to thrive, and even though there's bad times currently, things are going to bounce back. But what these people don't understand is this place is being systematically destroyed. The lady you see on the right is the Chancellor of the Exchequer. Her job is to basically manage the country's finances. They've made her, Rachel Reeves is her name, the first ever female Council of the Exchequer. And she is destroying the UK economy on purpose, man, for the sake of her elites. Because you see, the goal is to bring the chip in, that digital currency, whether it be the CBDC they bring in and transition into the chip, or just slap the chip straight down, man, and get things moving. You see, ultimately, the trust in the two-thirds, the trust of the two-thirds in Egypt is going to fail. This is why when Yahushua was sown all of the kingdoms of the earth by Satan, he told Satan, listen, at the end of the day, man, man, son, he was tempted to turn stones into bread. Satan said, ultimately, man, to get himself and to perform miracles for drink as well, and he basically cursed them out and said, listen, and he told him to jump off either a mountain or a high surface, saying that the angels of the Lord would bear him in his arms, and he rebuked him each time, saying, listen, So he rebuked Satan each time, ultimately saying, "Man shall not live by bread alone, you shall not test the heavenly Father, thy God." And ultimately, he knew that even despite the fact that Satan had splendor over all these kingdoms, it was wickedness, man, and it was only temporary and wasn't going to last. See, this kingdom that we're living in right now, it's not going to last because they are going to try and crash this financial system on purpose, and they are going to bring the solution, which is the chip. That's why Donald Trump is going through that trade war with China right now, and the American economy is flatlining. That's why the Chinese economy also, even though they're not showing it to you in the media, but people over there know, Moab know, and Jake that are living in China, because you got a lot of Jake in that region also know that, and China is also flatlining because of the fact that they put a lot of investment into property, because that place used to be just farmland, but they invested heavily into property, and property was one of the things that propped up their economy. Low building of tower block skyscrapers and all sorts of bespoke designs. Now that whole industry is flatlining because the government shifted their priorities. A lot of the loans that people took out on that from the different Chinese banks are defaulting. The country's struggling, man. And then on top of that, you add the fact that America, which is one of their largest trading partners, of course, they trade with everyone. Everything's made in China nowadays, but over 15% of the stuff that they export goes to America. And although, it's not like essentially like a major blow, 15% of your exports is a lot to lose, at a time when you're going through a financial crisis. They're going through it over there. America import everything. They're the largest consumer nation. They're the largest debtor nation. Like, they just buy, consume, and don't manufacture anything. They're struggling. Farmers are basically on the verge of pretty much losing it all. Empty shelves are coming to Walmart. Big CEOs are telling Donald Trump this. You got a situation here in the UK where the pound is weak. It's stronger than the dollar currently, of course, but it's weak, man. And the UK economy also is crashing. Shops all over the place are closing down. Small businesses are dying in the retail and hospitality sector. And jobs are being lost left, right, and centre. In March, over 90,000 jobs were lost. Listen, nearly 1% of the workforce is fucked, man. But that's because they're bringing through the chip as the salvation. And you want to get your job back, you want to get financial stability, you want to be able to access food in the stores. Revelations 13 and 16. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, everyone, regardless of whether you were on universal credit all your life, or if you used to have stocks and bonds and and traded all the rest of it. And he calls of all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, the charagma, the chip, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that have understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Yeah. The chip is going to be the new financial instrument through which people interact and trade. Every economy across the globe right now is struggling financially, man. Every economist you watch, whether it's this guy, Sasha Yanchin, Gary's Economics, some brothers have their opinion on him being another agent, controlled opposition. The Death of Capitalism, here by Yanis Varoufakis. What a name. But I think I've seen that video also, and I'm familiar with his work. Richard J. Murphy. Listen, the Spring Statement doesn't stack up. People are out here thinking that it's just incompetence and we need better leaders. Whether you get the Conservatives back in, whether you get any of these other political parties here in the UK, you could bring in a specialist unit, and ultimately it would still end up in the same result, because this is not just what's the word? This is not just ignorance and them being incapable of doing their work or their jobs. This is a purposeful attack on the people. They are purposefully destroying the economy, man, and destroying the prospects of working people. We, in this generation, this is the first generation that is significantly poorer than their parents, man. Inflation is at an all-time high. When you go back to the 80s, yeah, the amount of money you basically need in order to survive has doubled, man. Like because of the fact that the value of the money is basically shut because of the fact that there's increased velocity and more money injected into the economy, especially through these fractional reserve methods that the banks use. For example, like in the CV-19 pandemic, where the government literally created and injected £1 trillion worth of money into the economy, and that trickled right back up to the elite, man. Because for working people, for poor people, for our families, brothers, for the most part, brothers were just and their families were just paying bills. You getting their 80% stimulus, not even 100%, staying at home and just paying bills, rent, and the essentials. So our money never went up. Ultimately, what went up when everything opened back up? Luxury goods, man. Big trips on holidays, not just your average holiday to Amsterdam or France. I'm talking expensive, exquisite holidays. You know why? Because all of the MPs, the bourgeoisie, the right hand, the elite were able to come out and spend their money, man, and it trickled right back up to the people that own your mortgage, the owners of your private property, the heads of the councils, but they declare all the businesses bankrupt after paying them dividends, and then your tax money has to go save them. The councils in the UK are fucked, but the people that work for them at the top are still getting their 150k salaries a year, whilst your bins don't get collected. Charging all sorts of tax, capital tax, road tax, capital gains, income tax, of course. But they won't tax wealth. They tax flows of income to keep you poor, and then ultimately borrow money through the government from the international bankers, further debting the nation, putting the nation in debt, increasing the need to tax you more, tax the small businesses more, and by taxing small businesses 15% rather than 13.8, and then decreasing the amount from which it starts from about 9,800 roughly to 5,000. It fucked everyone over, man. Minimum wage is going up, so now like the average 18-year-old plus that works 35 to 40 hours will make about £25,000. The average is 35,000, like I said earlier, and so it disenfranchises businesses from hiring early career staff, because why would they do that when they can just for a little bit more get somebody with the experience that's going to be able to run with it and just make them more money? Like, this whole economy is fucked, hence why young people out here ain't able to make money. 40k is the new expectation for this young generation, but they ain't gonna get it with no experience. And even to get up to 40k, you gotta navigate politics in the workplace. It's over, man. This place is fucked. And you, Jake, that's settled in their leads here. You're gonna go with it, man. Keep your eyes single, focus, man, on the kingdom of heaven, man. Therein dwelleth eternal glory, riches and righteousness, everything that we want in this kingdom, man. Ain't nothing here for us. We seek a new kingdom wherein dwelleth righteousness. Shalom.